Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. Cleveland's quarterback battle is underway. Deshaun Watson remains sidelined with a right Achilles tendon injury. And due to Cleveland's injury situation in that quarterback room, it was actually announced that Shedeur Sanders will start the Browns' first preseason game against the Carolina Panthers on Friday. Here is the rookie quarterback on his approach this training camp.
I think every rep I get in general is valuable. We definitely taking things up a notch, I would say, with everything. So every rep, anytime I step on the field, I take it, like it could be my last, because you don't know. There's players that we was just practicing with last week that's not here no more. So like I said, it's more about a bond. It's more about going all out. It's more about, how you'll be remembered.
Time now to welcome in CBS Sports NFL analysts John Breach and Mike Renner to talk some preseason players to watch in the AFC North. And John, I'll begin with you. We just heard from quarterback Shedeur Sanders, who is set to get the start under center for the Browns on Friday. What stands out to you about the former Colorado quarterback?
Well, when you look at Shedeur Sanders, it is absolutely sink or swim time. The Browns are throwing him into the deep end right now. He didn't get any first-team reps during OTAs, during mandatory minicamp, didn't get many snaps with the first team during training camp. And now here he is starting the game. And yes, it's by default because Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett are both dealing with injuries, and Joe Flacco's too old to play in the preseason. So if you're Shedeur Sanders, this is a spot where you can prove that you belong. Yes, the Browns are going to be sitting a lot of their starters, so Shedeur Sanders is going to be throwing to the guys he's been throwing to in training camp, guys he's comfortable to throwing to. Now, can Shedeur Sanders win the starting quarterback job on Friday night? No, he cannot. But if he goes out there and goes 10 for 10, throws for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think the Browns would start taking him very seriously as someone who could win the QB job. So he can go from 4th on the depth chart to, hey, maybe we should move him up, maybe give him a few more reps in that week 2 preseason game. So this is a huge game for Shedeur on Friday night.
I'll be looking at the guy he's going to be thrown to, Deontay Johnson, one of their free agent signings. He was a guy who, during his time in Carolina or Houston or Baltimore last year, was just a mess. I mean, a guy that you did not want in your locker room. But this is basically his last chance. And if you look at this Browns receiving room, it's not that talented. After Jerry Jeudy, he is probably the second most gifted receiver on that roster. Doesn't mean he's obviously going to get playing time, but if he has his head on straight, if he is at his best here, he could easily play a factor in this offense. And I'll also just throw out DeJuan Jones is interesting to watch as well. Their left tackle. And I emphasize left tackle because the guy's barely played left tackle. 176 snaps there in his career. He was a right tackle at Ohio State with Paris Johnson on the left side. So you're relying on a guy who's barely ever played there going into year 3. I'm interested to see how he holds up at that position.
Well, elsewhere in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens, they're looking to win their 3rd straight AFC North title. And John, you are showing the kickers some love. You have Tyler Loop as one of your players to watch. Why is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Baltimore has had one of the best kicking situations in the NFL for nearly 15 years. That was with Justin Tucker. Tucker is obviously gone now. The Ravens went out and drafted a kicker for the first time in franchise history, and that was Tyler Loop. So when you were trying to replace someone who was best in the NFL at their job, best in recent NFL history at their job, there is a lot of pressure on you. But so far through training camp, Tyler Loop has lived up to that pressure. He's lived up to the hype. He's making most of his kicks. He's drilling long-range field goals, and that's exactly what you want to see if you're the Baltimore Ravens. So now the question is, can he do this in actual games? Because there's just no way to simulate that type of pressure for a kicker. He'll face some in the preseason and face even more in the regular season. So I will be the guy charting Tyler Loop's kicks when they're in the preseason against the Colts on Thursday.
Breach cannot say I'm surprised that you went with the kicker. But I agree. Tyler Loop, it's going to be impactful to their success. They could rely on that. For years, it seemed like it didn't matter. If the game was tight, they knew Just Tucker was going to make it. Not necessarily the case anymore. But I'm going to go the defense side of the ball. I'm going to go Trenton Simpson, the linebacker. If you just go up and down this roster, he is probably just on paper the weakest link. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. This is a guy, when he came out of Clemson, pretty much everyone had the exact same eval on him. It was, yeah, he's a freak athlete. Yeah, he has all the tools. But just he has no clue how to play the linebacker position. Well, last year, his second year in the NFL, he became a starter. And you saw some flashes of him start to learn how to play the linebacker position. And obviously this defense that obviously started with Mike McDonald, now, how it's evolved since then 3 years into it, I think he should be up to speed, and this weak link could have a Patrick Queen-esque jump forward and become one of the better linebackers in the NFL, and that would turn this defense into one of the best defenses in the league.
Let's now transition to the Steelers. Running back Caleb Johnson was selected by Pittsburgh in the 3rd round of the 2025 draft out of the University of Iowa. John, why should Pittsburgh fans be keeping their eyes on him?
Yeah, well, when the Steelers let Najee Harris go, it's pretty clear they're going to revamp that running back room. That's what they have done. Kenneth Gainwell, Trey Sermon in there now. And they drafted Caleb Johnson. Now, let's not forget, yes, Aaron Rodgers could end up being a good quarterback this year, but he's learning a new offense. So if you want him to have a smooth transition into that offense, you want to have a solid rushing attack behind him that can take some pressure off of Rodgers. And so that's where Caleb Johnson comes in. The man is a human bowling ball, so he can kind of go in there. He's been very good in training camp by all accounts. And yes, the Steelers do have Jaylen Warren, but his body's not really built to be carrying the ball 20, 25 times a game. It feels like the Steelers are going to have a running back room by committee. Caleb Johnson has been strong in training camp. If he plays even better in the preseason, this could be a guy who is getting most of the snaps at running back as we get further into the regular season eventually.
Now, I'm going to go with the guy blocking for him in Troy Fautanu, their right tackle this year. He was supposed to be the right tackle last year, but week 2, obviously suffered a season-ending injury, only played 55 snaps all of last season. He was their first-round pick a year ago, but for the similar reasons I mentioned DeJuan Jones, this guy was a left tackle at Washington. Barely played as a rookie. This is his first experience really getting at right tackle with Broderick Jones over there on the left side. These are 2 first-rounders. The potential for them is off the charts, but with Troy Fautanu, you just don't know how a guy's going to adjust to flipping sides, so that's why I'll be watching him closely this preseason.
And lastly, the Cincinnati Bengals, they're looking to get back in the playoffs after missing the postseason the last 2 seasons. Who are some players that fans should keep their eyes on that could really help this team get back to their winning ways?
Yeah, I've been down at a couple training camp practices over the past couple weeks. So I'm going to give you 2 names. Let's go with Taj Brooks on offense, a 6th-round pick. And he could surprise some people. When you look at what he did in college last season, there were only 2 college running backs in FBS who started at least 10 games and rushed for 100 yards in every single one of those games. That's Ashton Jeanty. Everyone knows that name because he went in the top 10 to the Raiders. And Taj Brooks. So Taj Brooks was playing at a Jeanty level at Texas Tech, where he went for over 1,500 yards during each of his final 2 seasons at the school. He has been drawing rave reviews from the coaching staff during training camp. He catches the ball out of the backfield. He's 5'9", built like a rock. So I'm anxious to see what he can do Thursday night against the Eagles. And then defensively, this is an easy one. It's Shamar Stewart. It seems like all we heard was negative headlines about him from May until late July. He missed the first 3 practices at training camp, but suddenly it's become no news is good news. We haven't heard much about him, and that's because he's been putting his head down in the dirt and looking good. The Bengals drafted him. He was a raw talent, but they liked his versatility, and he has been showing that in training camp. I think the Bengals coaching staff is pretty excited about what they've seen so far from him, but we'll have to see if that translates into preseason games, and he'll get a tough matchup on Thursday against the Eagles.
Yeah, it's nice to see him just play football at all at this point after this summer. But I'm going to go with DJ Turner, their cornerback, their former 2nd rounder, because he should be the antidote for this team to upset the Ravens in the AFC North. He has the ability to go mano-a-mano against the likes of Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers, these undersized but high-end separators. DJ Turner with his 4.26 speed, he should be the guy that can lock down one of those guys. But can he play more physically? Because he gets pushed around at only 180 pounds. And oh, by the way, you got DK Metcalf now in your division who's got 50 pounds on him. I just want to see how he looks out there because he should be, on paper at least, like going into year 3, this guy should be their best cornerback. But unfortunately, the results have been so up and down to this point in his career.
John and Mike, thank you both so much for your time and your insight, and we will certainly keep our eyes on those players. Thanks again, we appreciate it. Here's a look at the upcoming AFC North preseason games. You've got the Ravens taking on the Colts on Thursday, Bengals at Eagles also tomorrow, Browns at the Panthers on Friday, and the Steelers taking on the Jaguars on Saturday. Coming up, we continue on the topic of the AFC North, and we predict how each teams will fare. Stay with us right here on HQ Spotlight. Welcome back to HQ Spotlight. Here is a look at the odds to win the AFC North. The Ravens are the favorite, followed by the Bengals, the Steelers, and the Cleveland Browns. Time now to welcome in Mackenzie Brooks, who is here in studio with us, and Emery Hunt to break this all down for us. We are talking the stage of elimination for predicting each team's season in the AFC North. Mackenzie, the Ravens have some pretty good odds in their favor this season. Where do you see their season ending?
Here's the problem. The hump is always going to be the AFC Championship for them. And showing up in the big game, they'll annihilate everyone before, and I think they'd annihilate anyone after. So if it's not losing the AFC Championship, I think they win the Super Bowl. We give them a really solid shot here, around 18%, which is even higher than what odds makers are anticipating here. They have all the right things. You've heard, all of the media talking about it as well. They don't have a lot of flashy names on defense or edge rusher, and I think that's sometimes why people like to doink them. But they have double-digit sack guys, and they have a lot of improvements in the secondary as well. So I think just because, you don't have these big names, sometimes people don't want to believe in them, but I think they have everything to do it this year.
Yeah, I love the fact that they went out and got better on defense. They doubled down on their strength. They made their strength even stronger. And when you talk about bringing in Jair Alexander to go along with Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey, you draft Mike Green from the Sun Best Conference out of Marshall, who's going to provide that sack pressure to close out games, which is what they lacked last year against Buffalo. And then, by the way, on offense, they're still one of the best teams in football, regardless of division or conference. So, listen, I was a fairly athletic guy in my youth. I will hopscotch all over those odds into the Super Bowl and have these guys win the whole thing, because that's how talented they are on both sides of the ball. They are the AFC's version of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Now, Mackenzie, as we transition to the Steelers, odds makers are betting on them to miss the playoffs. Your thoughts?
Well, it's probably the most likely, but I think losing the wild card at plus 350 is a better value play here. I think they can get to the playoffs. This is a Mike Tomlin team. We know they're capable of winning 10 games just about every single season ever. The problem is once they get to the playoffs, I think you need Aaron Rodgers to be able to use his legs, which maybe a few years ago he could, but I just think once they get to the big stage, that's where they're going to run into trouble here. So again, 9 to 10 win team. They keep spending on their defense, which was already good. That's not the problem that's really going on here. So I think plus 350 to make the playoffs and then lose is the best play.
I'm going to have these guys missing the postseason. The only number and statistic and bet I care about with regards to Pittsburgh is Mike Tomlin having another winning season, which I believe he will have. The only issue I have with this team going to the postseason is that everyone in the AFC got significantly better, and I honestly believe there's only going to be one team out of the AFC North that gets to the postseason. So I will take the juice and lay the 165 with these guys missing the postseason. Winning record for sure, but postseason just on the outside looking in.
Okay, well, as for the Bengals, they missed the playoffs last season. However, they are favored to make the postseason this year. What do you think, Mackenzie? Do you agree with that?
There are two teams in the NFL that I'm willing to make future plays on based off injury that I think is bound to happen, the Bengals being one of them with Joe Burrow. It's just, when you get plus money for this team to miss the playoffs, I don't know how you don't take it. I mean, they didn't fix any of their holes. I mean, you have the top sack leader and your defense is still abysmal. So we give them a 58% chance to miss the playoffs in the Sportsline model. I think you should be paying juice for this. It's they just can't protect Joe Burrow. No matter how much talent they have on paper, all they can do, they don't have a great run game. Literally, all they're doing is relying on him to stay in the pocket and throw to the guys they spent $8 gajillion on. But it's this one-dimensional game plan that I don't think will get you to the postseason.
You know what's fascinating about the Bengals, and I didn't realize this was a thing until I saw it numerous times, is the fact that whenever Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson are healthy for the full season, Joe Burrow doesn't make the postseason. That's just bonkers to think about. But when you look at why they don't make the postseason, Mackenzie touched on it a little bit, it's about their run game. They don't lean on their run game to close out games. They're still utilizing Joe Burrow's arm to close out ball games, which we know when you throw the football, it kind of keeps both teams in, because three things can happen, two of them are bad anyway. So they have to get better at closing out ball games with their run game. And on defense, if you don't have Hendrickson out there happy, paid, ready to go, now you're still fighting defensively with one hand tied behind your back. So you got to get everybody out there to play your best game, because we know they can score 30, but if you're finding yourself in shootout Saturday and Sunday every week, then it's going to be a problem. And because of all of those reasons, and I expect the Ravens to really be strong this year once again. I'll take the value at these guys missing the postseason.
And lastly, the Cleveland Browns. We talked earlier in the show about the injuries in that quarterback room. It's not looking too good, but Mackenzie, is there hope for Browns fans?
I mean, they take the saying, if you have two quarterbacks, you have none, to an extreme with about 5 of them. So, yeah, it's looking pretty bad. The front office is a mess. The quarterback room is a mess. And you probably know you're drafting a quarterback next year as well. So to have even the situation they have is just wild to me. Obviously, you're not going to want to pay minus 1250 for this bet. You can look at their win total as 5.5. I would take the under. I think they're probably good for 3, maybe 4 wins this year. In the Sportsline model, we have them favored in one game, and it's the Titans at home, and it's a coin flip, barely 52% chance to beat them. So obviously, you don't want to pay that heavy price there, but I think the win total under could be a good move.
I guarantee if the Browns came out today and named Shedeur Sanders the starter for the regular season, those odds to make the playoffs would change dramatically to a short miss, as opposed to this laying the $12 billion to have these guys miss the playoffs, right? Because we don't know who's going to be quarterback, and we know who's the better quarterback in that room. It makes this whole thing just kind of a farce for Cleveland in terms of how to bet this thing, especially when you look at how they are managing the offseason, how the offseason has gone for them. You don't have Quinshon Judkins out there. He's not even signed yet as a rookie, and they don't have the depth at receiver nor in the backfield just yet to where you can count on these guys to kind of push for the top of the division, or at least for that 7th playoff spot. So for me, the Browns defense will be very good, especially up front, especially at the second level with the rookie Carson Schlesinger. But offensively speaking, there's too many unknowns and question marks for me to feel confident to even lay that 1250 for them to miss the playoffs, which I expect they will.
So a little bit of optimism, kind of, from Emery. Mackenzie, not so much from you.
You know how it goes.
But also, love sports, you never know what happens.
Emery, the craziest thing about this team is, like, all they do is get guys from within the division. They can't even get creative. That's how bad this front office is. They're like, oh, yeah, we've seen Joe Flacco play. Well, yeah, we'll take him. Oh, we'll take this guy. We've played him before. Very interesting things going on in Cleveland.
We shall see how it all unfolds. Mackenzie, Emery, thank you guys both so much for the time. We appreciate it. If you're looking for the best picks against the spread, sharp action on the total and props you can take to the ticket window, check out the Early Edge podcast. Early Edge is bringing you the best bets in a quick, informative, and easy-to-digest podcast.